Another day, another review of a movie that came out weeks ago that I'm just now getting around to. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon. Welcome back once again to Marotta Media. And in today's review, as I said, I will be giving my thoughts on yet another movie that came out some time ago, but what can you do? I'm just now getting around to it. Either take it or leave it. But the discourse surrounding this movie was just too interesting not to talk about. And the movie that is the subject of that discourse is none other than DC's latest film, Joker: Folie. Joker: Folie is obviously a sequel to the first Joker film from 2019, and this movie picks up right where the first film left off. Arthur Fleck, once again played by Joaquin Phoenix, is imprisoned in Arkham Asylum, and there he meets fellow prisoner Lee Quinzel, or Harley Quinn, played by Lady Gaga. And the two of them work together to clear Arthur's name of any wrongdoing from the first film, using the excuse that he has some sort of split personality, one being Arthur and the other being the Joker. In preparation for this movie, I rewatched the original Joker from 2019, and when that movie came out, I absolutely loved it. And if I recall, I believe I had it in my top 10 favorite movies of 2019, because 2019 was an absolutely stacked year for film. And my rewatch was only the second time that I had ever seen the movie, because the only other time I saw it was on opening night back in 2019. So after 5 years of not seeing this movie, do I still think it holds up? Yes, for the most part. I completely understand people's criticisms of the original Joker movie, but I still think it's pretty good. I definitely don't like it as much as I did back in 2019, but I do still think it's a really good movie. But on a rewatch, looking back at it, I don't know if the movie would have made my top 10 favorite movies of 2019. And even though I actually liked the first Joker movie, I was very nervous about a sequel, because a sequel to this movie just did not seem necessary or really needed. And then more and more reports started to come out that this movie was going to be a musical. And if you guys have been watching me for any amount of time, you will know that that is not a deal breaker for me like it is for some people, because I love musicals. But this still really confused me, because I was like, how is a Joker movie going to work as a musical? Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't. Joker: Folie does not work as a musical. It doesn't even really work as a sequel. It doesn't work as anything, really. I thought this movie was truly terrible, and as it stands right now, this is one of the worst movies of the year. And I'm not just jumping on the hate bandwagon that this movie is getting, because I can assure you that there are people that say it's bad just because others are saying it's bad, but I promise you, I truly believe that this movie is very, very bad. And that disappoints me, because I wanted to love this movie, but I just did not. And my biggest fear turned out to be accurate. This movie's biggest problem is that it just feels overall pointless. About 20 to 30 minutes into the movie is when I started to get really nervous, because we had seen a lot and a lot had happened, but it never felt like the story was really progressing. But I don't know if that should have made me nervous due to this movie's absurdly long runtime, but we'll get to that more later. But I got especially nervous when we got to this movie's first musical sequence, because all of this build-up saying that this movie is going to be a musical, and I was so curious to see what that was like. Well, what it's like is a really bad attempt at a musical. If I remember correctly, the first musical sequence takes place in Arkham, and Arthur is like watching TV or something, and he just starts singing and dancing around the room with all the other prisoners. And he's the only one doing it, because all the prisoners and guards are just sitting there. I think they know what he's doing, but they're kind of just sitting there like, oh, whatever, same shit, different day. But then it's revealed that this entire sequence was all in his head. And that's the case with basically every other musical sequence. They're all just imagined by the characters. They're not actually happening. But the musical sequences themselves also felt overall underwhelming. If you've ever seen a good movie musical in your life, then you will know that the musical sequences need to be very grand and over the top. They need to be huge in scope and very ambitious, and we don't get anything like that in Joker: Folie. As much as I don't like to use this term, this movie was truly lacking the sauce when it came to the musical sequences. But not only does this movie not work as a musical, it doesn't work as anything. And believe me, this movie is trying so hard to be so many different genres. It tries to be a musical, it tries to be a love story, it tries to be a serious courtroom drama. And it fails at all of them. And it's so fitting that this movie just felt completely pointless, because the biggest character that they added for this sequel was absolutely pointless herself. That obviously being Harley Quinn. I think that Lady Gaga is a very talented actor, and she's proven herself in the past time and time again that she has talent musically. And in this movie, I think she once again shows that she has the ability to act, but she is given absolutely nothing to work with. Her character is just completely wasted in this, and honestly, if Harley was not present in this movie, then nothing would have changed. And as I said, this movie has an absurd runtime with a runtime of about 2 hours and 20 minutes. I truly do not mind movies that are long. My favorite movie of 2023 was 3 hours long. But there is a time and place. There are some movies that justify their long runtime, and there are other movies that don't. Joker Folie Deux falls into the latter category. Due to its long runtime, the movie just drags. It truly just keeps going and going. And when you think you see a light at the end of the tunnel, it turns out that it was a little further than you initially thought. Because this movie has so many endings. There were maybe 3 or 4 times where I thought that this movie was about to end, but nope, it just kept going for like another 10 to 15 minutes. One of the biggest criticisms that I've heard of the original Joker is that that movie was very shallow and it didn't really have a message. And I don't necessarily agree with those criticisms, because I think Joker does have a message, but whether you think the message is shallow or not is a completely different story. Joker, at the very least, was attempting to say something. I think that that is something that no one can really deny. If you think that what it was saying was shallow, that's perfectly fair. I understand that completely. But it attempted to have a message. Joker Folie Deux does not. This movie feels like it has absolutely nothing to say, and it doesn't feel like it really added anything to the events of the original story. In fact, Folie Deux feels like it goes backwards more than anything. It feels like it deemed all of the events from the first Joker as pointless. And this is especially driven home by the way this movie ends. The ending is so terrible. I won't get into the spoilers just in case you haven't seen it yet, but like I said, the ending of this movie just further drives home the point that it feels like we wasted our time watching both of these movies. Because if the first movie was just a standalone, then that would have been fine, but the fact that it now has this movie attached to it, it feels like it's a colossal waste of time knowing where we end up. And where we end up feels like we're right back at square one of the first Joker movie. This movie is not all bad, though, because I would say that just about everything that was great about the first movie has returned for this one. Joaquin Phoenix is once again fantastic as Joker. I mean, he won an Oscar for his performance in the first movie, and I think he deserved it. Even though Lady Gaga is given absolutely nothing to work with, I think she did a really good job as well. And Brendan Gleeson is even in this movie, and I thought he did a great job too, but just like Lady Gaga, he was absolutely wasted and given nothing to work with. From a technical standpoint, the movie is also very well done once again. The cinematography in the first Joker I thought was excellent, and the cinematography in Folie Deux is no different. The score is once again fantastic, the production design is great, the lighting looked really cool, and the costumes looked great as well. And one thing that I will give Joker Folie Deux major props for is the risk that it took. I will always applaud movies that take gigantic risks like this, because it's definitely ballsy and it shows that the filmmakers had the courage to attempt to do something like this. Something that they knew would most likely alienate the audience, but I don't think they expected both sides of the audience to be alienated in this case. Because I truly do not believe that Joker Folie Deux is for anybody. If you did not like the first Joker, then you're definitely not gonna like this one either. But at the same time, if if you loved the first Joker, then I also don't think you're going to like this movie. There will obviously be some exceptions of people who like this movie who liked the first one or didn't like the first one, but I truly don't know who this movie was for. It feels like it just spits in the face of fans of the original and saying, we know you guys liked this one, but there's a good chunk of people that didn't like the first one, so we're gonna try to please them. But in the end, they just pissed everybody off. But going back to my original point, I do give this movie major props for taking a risk like this, but it just did not work out. Joker Folie is not a good movie, and I am very comfortable to say that this is definitely one of the worst movies of the year, in my opinion. I'm disappointed because I wanted to like this movie a lot, because I'm one of the people that really enjoys the first one still, but this was a colossal letdown. Overall, I'd give Joker Folie a 3 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of Joker Folie. If you guys saw this movie, let me know what you thought about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was better or worse than the first Joker? And how do you feel about the first Joker movie? If you guys like this review, be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews, I will link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day. I will see you all next time.